I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well...
But... candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Bienvenidos a la Alcaldía de Cleveland. Welcome to Cleveland's City Hall, and let's thank Natoya and the mayor for their hospitality. My name is Lorraine Vega, and I have the privilege of welcoming you today. To those that I have not seen and know, welcome. Those that I have not met, I look forward to meeting you. You know, there are defining moments in our lives where we opt or we opt out. For those of you that are here to explore the opportunity as to whether you should apply to the National Urban Fellows, let me tell you that this is a defining moment and one that can recreate your entire life. So next August, I will celebrate 35 years of having completed my first summer as of the studies in National Urban Fellows and having stepped foot in the great city of Cleveland. I am very proud to be here. I opted out of Denver and I opted into Cleveland, and it was the best decision I ever made, okay? So for those of you who are going to apply and are going to return to make the city better so that you could sit up here in 35 years and talk about how you contributed to it, no pressure. I just want to make sure that you understand that this is your time, and we look forward to greeting you when you do this. I want you to know that the City of Cleveland did host the board of the National Urban Fellows. Miguel Centeno is here from New York. He works for Edna. Nina Martinez from Albuquerque, who also works in the city and civically throughout the country. Stand up, Nina. Orlando Gonzalez, who does everything, including a very special project we're working on. He's from Miami. Please welcome him. George Peña from Dallas, former alums, and most of these are all alumni. From Texas. Is that Flora next to him? No, I can't see. Who's Flora Castillo, who's here from Philadelphia, United Healthcare. And there were many who joined us electronically. I have the pleasure of introducing someone who needs no introduction. You know, for lots of us, we know her from the point of view of she's loyal, she's an Energizer bunny, she's a woman of great vision, and a woman who is catalytic to everything that she touches. And before I do that, of course, our 5 National Urban Fellows for this year, would you please stand? And of course, we're determined that they are all future citizens of Cleveland. Natoya Walker Minor. First, I'd like to just thank Councilman Kevin Conwell and Footprints Band. Weren't they lovely? Thank you. Thank you. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Even a superficial look at history reveals that no social advance rolls in on the heels of inevitability. Every step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice. It requires suffering. It requires struggle. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action. Dr. Martin Luther King wrote those words in 1958 in his book, Stride Toward Freedom. 1958. 50 years ago.
And it is amazing that 50 years later, we still deal with the economic and social perils for which he wrote those words. And that's why a master's in public administration, that's why an organization like the National Urban Fellows exists. Why? Because poverty and economic inequality are inextricably linked to everything that we do. It's detrimental to our society. We need the policies, we need the programs, we need the leaders, we need the politicians, we need the public officials, the public administrator. The fact that we still have economic insecurities, immigration, food insecurities, workforce participation, challenges with globalizations means that the National Urban Fellows remains relevant. That means that public administration remains relevant. We cannot shy from engagement, but rather we must do as our ancestors did. They picked up the mantle, and we too stand on the heels, on the shoulders of so many, 51 years from the civil rights movement, and yet the challenges continue to remain. That means that we have work to do. We can't celebrate the victories, although we acknowledge them, because there's so much work to do because people are hurting. People are hurting and people are in need every day. We must reach as we climb. And that's what the National Urban Fellows is all about. And it is for that reason and those reasons that I mentioned, policies, programs, elected officials, that I am so glad to be a 12-year member of the staff of Mayor Frank G. Jackson, a man who just made history, a man who was just elected for a 4th term as mayor of the city of Cleveland. A man who frequently speaks in anecdotes like, for the least of these. And sometimes people can miss that. But what he's talking about is all those things that I talked about. The economic perils, the insecurities, the economic insecurities. And that is the work. Those are the challenges that he puts before his team every day. Every day he puts those challenges before us to find solutions. And that is why he ran, so that we can continue on the trajectory that we have been on for the last 12 years. This man, Mayor Jackson, has dedicated his life to public service. Also, he was one of 2 letters of recommendation for me back in 1994 when I applied to become a National Urban Fellows. I'm indebted to him for that, and I enjoy what I'm doing here, and I love the fact that I work for somebody that believes in everything that I just said. At this time, I introduce to you Mayor Frank G. Jackson, Mayor of the City of Cleveland.
Good evening. Good evening. And how are you this evening? Good. You know, before I get started, how many are urban fellows?
How many urban fellows?
How many urban fellows? Okay, all right. Well, I want to welcome all of the National Urban Fellows to the city of Cleveland, its board, its members, all of you, and say how happy I am that you're here, but also compliment you and congratulate you and thank you on the work that you do. As Ms. Walker Minor said, she has worked for me for the past 12 years, but we have many National Urban Fellows who work in the city of Cleveland. They're either a chief of a cluster, as Ms. Walker Minor is. They're directors, Barry Withers, who has held many, many positions in I think three mayor's cabinets. So I have members of my cabinet, I have members of the staff, I have members who are National Urban Fellows. And it's good working with them because they come with a purpose, with a mission. You know, and the theme about a lifetime of champions for equity and social justice, Ms. Walker Minor is correct. There's something wrong when you continue talking about the same thing every year. There's something wrong when we can continue to identify the same problems every year. There's something wrong with that. And we have to get to the point where we're no longer identifying these issues, but we have taken those issues off the table and have resolved many of the things that affect equity, that affect social justice, that really leads to true empowerment. And those who are urban fellows that are in Cleveland, that have gone through this program, both in the public and private sector, are well positioned to make that happen. Well positioned. So again, I welcome you to the city of Cleveland, congratulate all of you on your accomplishments, and really thank you for doing the work that you do so that we can not just continue to talk about the problem of inequity and the lack of social justice, but bring resolution to those things. So thank you very much.
Mayor Jackson, on behalf of the Board of National Urban Fellows, could you please come over, Miguel, who is our Vice Chair?
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Board of Directors of National Urban Fellows, we'd like to present this small token of our appreciation. As you see, your award has 3 stars, but in your case, I know you got a few other stars on your lapel. The award reads, Mentor, Leader, Public Servant. Mayor Jackson has achieved what very few mayors in this country are able to achieve, and that is election to 4 terms in office. It is well deserved, and I just want to say, on behalf of our organization, we've been here since 1970. We had a National Urban Fellow in the first class, and we will continue to be represented well in Cleveland through the presence of fellows and mentors. But we want to acknowledge your tremendous leadership over the last 12 years and look to many more years of leadership and support for the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I mentioned earlier that when I arrived in Cleveland, I opted out of Denver, and I had the distinct pleasure of arriving with someone who arrived with no coat, with a lot of enthusiasm, extreme experience, and went on to lead incredible departments throughout time. I'm going to ask Natoya to join me as we honor one of our own. You go through lots of changes in life, and you celebrate a lot of things together. And what you remember about people are not only their positions, but it's their character. It is their ability through trying times to overcome, to pull up people when the time is right, and to also give you some straight talk when it's really time. So I'm going to ask Natoya to kind of share a couple of her memories about this person and the leadership trail that he has left and the pathways that he's opened up for other people before we ask him to come up and invite you to honor us, to help us honor him on 35 incredible years of public service and leadership.
Barry Withers, the Wizard. Another National Urban Fellow, Dwight Wilson, who's no longer in Cleveland, he's in Florida. He nicknamed Barry the Wizard because literally all of us that came into Cleveland as National Urban Fellows, or once we completed our fellowship and we're here at City Hall, we were like, who do we need to go to talk to? Who do we need to talk to? And the answer was the Wizard. And the Wizard has always been Barry Withers. Barry Withers, who's been here through 4 mayors, 35 years of dedicated public leadership. Always a word to the wise. Sometimes when you go to his office, I remember after I completed the National Urban Fellows, and I worked for Mayor White, and he had a chief of staff that was really tough. She was just tough. She would just crush you. And I went to Barry and I said, you know, I can't take it. I just can't take it. And he said, you have to. You must. This is going to make you better. And I'm thinking like, no, it's not. I'm like, you know, I'm ready to go. You know, I'm from around the neighborhood. I'm ready to invite her outside. You know, he's like, can't do that. You can't do that. And, you know, he coached me through that. And he's coached so many people over the years. He's coached so many people. So many of us owe so much to him on what we now call emotional intelligence. And he helped me to understand where I needed to build my emotional intelligence and to build it to be a leader and to be in the position that I'm in now. I love him. He's done so much for this community, contributed and sacrificed so much of his life and his family's time, because he's worked, like so many of us, worked hours and hours and hours. I love him. His name is Barry Withers. He came to us from Florida by way of North Carolina. He reflects on his father, his mother, his siblings, his wife, his son, his nephew, and he continues to invest in us. He definitely exemplifies reaching as we climb. At this time, we have an award for Barry Withers.
Barry, you are one of our giants, and we'd love to present you with the Distinguished Alumnus Award, November 2017. My brother.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for this honor. It is an honor. I can remember, and before I go further, I'd like to also thank Mayor Jackson. And the reason I've had the extreme pleasure and honor, and I say that without any doubt, of having to working with 3 mayors in this city. Mayor Jackson being the most recent. He's the longest running mayor in the city of Cleveland. And he's an outstanding leader, an outstanding person. But more than anything, he's a great man. It's been a pleasure, Mayor, work for you, and God bless you and continued success. And know that I'm with you to the end. And I'll be brief because I hate long speeches. On the first Tuesday of September in 1983, I walked through this door of this city hall for the first time, and I was overwhelmed with the majesty and beauty of this building. I walked upstairs to Mayor Vonovich's office, and I was greeted with much welcome, and people were very nice. They put me in a corner. They said, "You're going to do this and keep your mouth shut and learn what you can." And it was a great experience. I went to every meeting, I went to every council meeting. I learned about my first interaction with the leader of this city, George Forbes, and I had to go sit down and think about that. All those years, I've learned a couple of things about administration and about life. One is that being a National Urban Fellow enabled me to have a good look into how government was made. It gave me a good opportunity to be involved in policy making, that affects everyday lives. I give you one quick story, and I'll give you an example of what that means. When my mother died when I was 6, and the one lasting memory I have of my mother is that we go places, and I would be sitting in line. When we go places, everywhere we would stand in line. One of the opportunities that Mayor Jackson afforded me was the opportunity to be involved for a while as Director of Public Utilities. And one of the things I decided when I was in Public Utilities, that no customer was going to stand in line. That I was going to go downstairs every day and make sure that we had customer service that was beyond. And Director Davis is carrying that on today. What I'm saying to all of you guys is you're coming through this process that more than ever before in time, we need principled leadership. We need leadership that is based on your love for people and your love for making this place where we live, whether it's Cleveland, whether it's New York, whether it's Miami, wherever there's a better place for the people that we know. Lorraine Vega and I walked in this building. Lorraine didn't say to it that if it wasn't for Lorraine, Lorraine makes lasagna that's out of this world. And if it wasn't for Lorraine's lasagna, I was starved, because you know, as a National fellow, I had no money. And the only thing I ate was Lorraine's cooking and whatever was left over when they had meetings up in the Red Room. The staff would always make sure you had something to eat. But I want to thank everybody for being here. If you are considering the program, do more consider it. Join. If you join the program, you have an opportunity. You have the opportunity to make decisions. You are trained to make decisions and to be firm and to do something for somebody other than yourself. It doesn't matter that you show up ready to go. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I love the National Urban Fellows, and I thank you very much for this opportunity. And God bless and keep you all, and thank you very much.
It is a pleasure for me to introduce our vice chair of our board. He is the one and only who is an alumni at heart. We elected him as an alumni. He bleeds, he talks, and everything National Urban Fellows. Miguel Centeno comes to us from Edna, and he has a master's in public administration, but he really bleeds National Urban Fellows blue. Please welcome Miguel.
Good evening. Oh, no. I can't hear y'all. I came from New York to be here. Good evening. Good evening. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I am very pleased to be here with you this evening. As Lorraine mentioned, my name is Miguel Centeno. I am the proud vice chairman of the board of National Urban Fellows. And it is always wonderful to be with family, because that's what this gathering is all about. I must say, before I go any further, that our chairman, David Rivers, had every intention of being here this evening, but unfortunately he fell ill and is unable to join us this evening, but he sends his regrets, and we know that he is with us here in spirit. My friends, it is wonderful to be here in Cleveland for any number of reasons. One of those is that Cleveland rocks. Oh yes. And there are a number of reasons why Cleveland rocks. One of them is, of course, the fact that this is home to the world-renowned Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But there are other reasons. Now, I'm a huge sports fan, and so I'm here in Cleveland, and I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that last year, as you all know, Cleveland celebrated its first sports championship of any kind in over 50 years when the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA championship. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's like, Miguel, that was 2016. There's been another champion since, but that's okay. Because when you have to wait over 50 years to celebrate a championship of any kind, there is no statute of limitations for recognizing it and celebrating it. Am I right? But the sports world in Cleveland didn't stop there, because then a few months later, the Cleveland Indians came oh so close to winning a world championship. So in many ways, Cleveland has become the epicenter of the sports world. So yes, that's another reason why Cleveland rocks, but as far as I'm concerned, the most important reason why Cleveland rocks is because in many ways it has become the epicenter of the National Urban Fellows world. It is evidenced by the turnout that we have here today. We're joined by our 5 incredibly talented current fellows. We are joined by alumni. We are joined by mentors. We are joined by former mentors and those who love them. We are here because the issues that National Urban Fellows has addressed for over 50 years continues to plague our nation. So it is heartening to see the incredible show of support that exists here in Cleveland. And let me say that there are a number of reasons why that is the case. But no small reason is the incredible leadership of our Cleveland-based Board of Directors members, Lorraine Vega and Natoya Walker-Minor. But my friends, it is without question a team effort. And so it involves all of us in order to band together to address the challenges that we face today. You can name any issue, whether it's health care, immigration reform, tax equity, criminal justice reform, you name it, and communities of color are disproportionately negatively affected. This has been a challenge for our nation, as has been said, for over 50 years, well before the onset of National Urban Fellows. And make no mistake, we have made progress, and National Urban Fellows has been at the forefront of much of that progress. But my friends, we will all agree that there is still much work to be done. And so a program like ours, one can argue, has never been more important than right now. The fact that we continue to need a cadre of talented, committed individuals, folks who care deeply about social justice and equity. We need you now more than ever. We need the National Urban Fellows program more than ever. So my friends, if you have been long affiliated with the program, we need you to continue to remain engaged. And there are any number of ways that you can be engaged. As Vice Chairman of the Board, I would be remiss if I didn't say yes. We need your contributions. We need your money. It takes money to keep a program like ours going. It takes money for us to be able to train the next cadre of leaders to tackle these challenges that continue to affect the communities that we care about. But it's not only an issue of money. We also need your time. We need you to commit of your time as much as you can to help us be even stronger here in Cleveland. So if you know, for example, if you know of individuals who you think could benefit from this program, and then once they graduate from the program would make a difference in their communities, we need you to tell them about it. We need you to help spread the word of National Urban Fellows. And let me say a word also for those who may be here thinking about whether to enroll in our program. My friends, don't think too much. We need you to do. Don't think, do. You are here because the issues that I mentioned and many others that I didn't mention matter to you. There are many other places that you could have been this evening. There are many other things that you could have done. But you said, I'm going to be here. And that sends a message. So there are many representatives here of the program who are happy to speak to you if you are still thinking about whether to join our family. But I implore you, don't think, do. So, again, it is wonderful to be here. Lorraine referenced that this is the first time in NUF's history that we have held a board meeting here in Cleveland. And it was only right and proper for us to do it, because as I mentioned, Cleveland is largely becoming a significant epicenter of the National Urban Fellows universe. That's right. So my friends, the work ahead of us is significant. We will overcome these challenges by working together, by being committed to the cause, and by staying focused. You can applaud that. My friends, I can assure you that those who oppose us are very unified. Those who oppose the things that we care about are very focused. We need to match that focus and then some. This is a fight that we have on our hands, no less than that. It requires us to be soldiers of justice and equity. And it is wonderful to see how many soldiers are here enlisted in Cleveland. Let us continue, my friends, to fight on. The cause matters, our communities matter, our lives matter. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it is always wonderful to be here with family. Family, let's rock on. Let's get this thing done. Stay focused, stay committed until the victory is won. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker. I met this young lady last year, and although we've had a long relationship with the city of Cleveland, in my first meeting with her and breaking bread over lunch, I realized that I was in the presence of someone who was passionate, who was a doer, and could be no better representative for the city of Cleveland and the institution that she represents, Miss India Pierce Lee, Senior Vice President of the Cleveland Foundation and National Urban Fellow Mentor.
Good evening, and I'm going to be brief, so you don't have to worry. But I have to say that the Cleveland Foundation has been working with National Urban Fellows since the 70s. And when I came to the foundation, I was not actually the assigned mentor, but I've worked with almost every single fellow since I've been there, since inception. And why? Because I didn't get where I was by myself. A lot of people helped me to be the person I am today. People here in City Hall, Mayor Jackson being one of them when I worked here under Mayor White, and some of you have heard that story, some of our fellows. But Cleveland is the city for National Urban Fellows. We are not becoming. We have a lot of talent here. We have new talent here. And last year when Miguel and I met, I think he was a little worried about the transition at the foundation, and I guaranteed him not only would we be a partner, a mentor, but we were going to come strong. And one thing about Cleveland, we all work together. Natoya, Sylvia Perez, who's a former National Urban Fellow at the foundation, now at United Way, Ann Goodman from St. Luke's. When we went for our interviews, Miguel didn't know what he was in for, but we negotiated these 5 individuals that are here. We told them, if you're going to come to Cleveland, this is who we want. And we guarantee you that they're going to have the best experience, they will get the best professional development, they will get the best mentors, and that it would not be just one organization, but all of us working together to ensure that not only they get what they want, but we're going to keep you here too. And, the understanding with the National Urban Fellows and having worked with all my colleagues that were former fellows, I've worked with Lorraine and Barry and Natoya and so many more here in Cleveland. I know the quality, and Grace, where's Grace? Oh, she's over there. I know the quality and what they bring. And I have to say, when we were going through the interviews, the cohort was just so strong. And if we had room, we would have taken more people here. But I encourage those 8 organizations that are here that haven't had a fellow, it's worth it. Talk to your other organizations, other colleagues. I think the more fellows we can bring to Cleveland, we have a big agenda in Cleveland. We have to support our mayor for his next 4 years and all the priorities, our council people, Councilman Zone and Kevin Conwell. We have a big agenda. We work together here. But I'm going to tell you this. It's called, and I stole this from Brian Zimmerman, it's called Pivot, Move, and Execute. And that's what we're going to do in these next 4 years. We're going to pivot, move, and we're going to execute. And we can't do it without our fellows. So congratulations to those that are here. Congratulations to those that's going to apply and be here next. And Miguel and the board, thank you for coming to Cleveland, because we believe in what National Urban Fellows stand for, and we believe in the fellows that are coming along and the power they bring to the work that we do. Thank you.
Let me just acknowledge a few individuals that are critical to the mission of National Urban Fellows here in Cleveland. Darnell Brown, Chief Operating Officer; Robert Davis, Director of Public Utilities. Want to give a shout out to Councilman Kevin Conwell. I also want to give a shout out to Sylvia Perez Cash, who, when I sent her to Cleveland, she said, "Cleveland?" And 5 years later, she has found not only great opportunities here in the city of Cleveland, but also her son was born here in the city of Cleveland. So shout out to Sylvia. I also, as part of executive privilege, would like to call on a friend who I met when we had our first major reception in Cleveland in 2016, and that is Councilman Matt Zone. So Matt, would you come up? I know that last year you got elected president of the National League of Cities, one of the 4 founding organizations of National Urban Fellows in 1969. Matt, come on up and say a few words.
So they say the best speeches are unprepared, so I have no notes. First of all, to the class of 2017, congratulations. I know you've gone through a rigorous program this year. You're going to contribute mighty, and I'm surrounded by such greatness in the room of so many alum of this class who I've worked with over the years. And so You know, the National League of Cities was delighted to be one of the founding partners. For those of you who don't know, the National League of Cities is an organization that represents all the mayors and council members in the United States. I have the high honor of serving as the president this year. Don't tell them that I came here without a tie and properly prepared. But when I received my personal email from Grace to come here, I'm wedged in between two meetings. I had to be here for Grace. She's such a wonderful representative. Let me just say that our organization is so committed to this program. We have several employees who are National Fellows. We always bring on fellows within the National League of Cities. The City of Cleveland's committed to it, so congratulations to all of you. It's always good having Miguel in here in town as well, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Now it's my extreme pleasure to ask one of our alums, Joe Black, who I met in 2016. He showed up to that reception and said, you know, I think I want to become a National Urban Fellow. He applied, and now he is a member of the family. Joe, come on up.
As you can see, I come in numbers. So I just wanted to take a moment. My name is Joe Black. I am Cleveland born and raised, and I am a member of the 2017 class. Thank you. While I was here in Cleveland, I was placed at the Sisters of Charity Foundation, which was an amazing opportunity for me to continue the work that I was doing previously. As a sponsored candidate, I had the opportunity to really challenge myself in a variety of ways, pushing forward the work of the organization and following in a tradition that is built here by the National Urban Fellows. I too believe in equity. I too believe in social justice. And given the format and the training, the education, and the influence of my peers, I feel better equipped to do that. With that being said, I just want to briefly tell you that part of my journey when I entered into the program was simple. I wanted to be a voice for those that I represented in the city of Cleveland, and I felt that the best way to do it was to create a seat at the table. That moment, I realized that I wasn't even doing enough. It wasn't just a seat, it was a voice. And so I am honored to continue to do that work. I will say that my personal passion and investment in the city is to continue to push forward, delivering quality, sound leaders who will also go through this program and also to continue to uplift the city. In short, I leave you with this story. There was a farmer who heard about diamonds, went searching for his own personal riches. He left his land and traveled the world, became sick, ill, and passed. Ironically, the land he lived on was filled with diamonds. That is what I see here, and that is what I have behind me. So I am proud to introduce to you the class of 2018. These young men and women will share with you briefly where they're from, their own personal intentions, and you will have an opportunity to talk with them later if you have any personal questions. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I greatly appreciate everyone's contributions and commitment to this program. My name is Carmela Beck. I'm from San Diego, California. I spent the last 15 years working in organic agriculture as the Senior Organic Program Manager for an international berry company in the US, Mexico, and Chile. I'm currently placed at the Department of Public Utilities, Cleveland Division of Water, and my interests are public affairs, advocacy, and equity. It's a joy to be here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Myron Marshall. I'm a National Urban Fellow at the Cleveland Foundation. I'm originally from Philadelphia, born and raised. However, I've spent the last 3 years in Delaware as a legislative aide at the Delaware House of Representatives. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be here, and a little bit about my passions and what I care about is I strongly care about civic engagement, building capacity, and addressing racial equity. So those are three things that I really care about, and I want to work on that here in Cleveland. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ogechi Opara. I am from a little outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I've been placed at United Way of Greater Cleveland with Sylvia Perez-Cash and Augie Nepoli. It's a great honor to be there. And it's the last several years I've worked as in arts administration for a county and in professional development. I also worked as an editor and writing consultant for people who were working on their academic projects. Coming here, I've learned that I have some talents and I want to use them. And I'm particularly interested in strategy, in demonstrating and cultivating principled leadership, and helping organizations become learning organizations. I want to thank you all for being here, and I look forward to meeting many of you after this. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Courtney Barton. I am from Brooklyn, New York. I was lucky enough to be placed at the Cleveland Foundation with India Pierce Lee as my mentor. Before joining National Urban Fellows, I worked for 12 years as a nonprofit fundraiser. Most recently, I was the Associate Director of Stewardship at the Brooklyn College Foundation. My personal interest and my academic interest and why I'm here is to study ways in which public-facing organizations can advance towards intersectional equity, especially in a city like Cleveland, which I think is a very rich field. And I'm also interested in the arts. And thank you very much for being here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Orozco. I am from North Bergen, New Jersey, and I am mentoring at United Way of Greater Cleveland. Very excited to be there. My professional background comes through mentoring college students about goal planning and leadership. I was also director of operations for the Beatties that taught diabetics how to cope with their disease through arts and theater. And my professional interest and my academic interest here where I'm in Cleveland is community development, community organizing, and network development, because it was through networks and community leaders that helped me get back into school after I dropped out from falling into a diabetic coma. So that had a huge impression in my life. But I wanted to share a quick story about the National Urban Fellows and what I've learned through it from this one experience. So, at the end of September, I walk outside with a Getchy. I go into my pocket, pull out my car keys, go to unlock my car, and realize my car is missing. I look down to the left, look down to the right, and come to the slow realization that my car had been stolen. And I had learned 3 important lessons from that experience. 1, you're going to be challenged as a National Urban Fellow. Whether you're worried about leaving a loved one behind, leaving a stable job, or your car gets stolen in the middle of the semester, you're going to be challenged. But without challenge, there is no growth. And this program is about professional, academic, and personal development. There can be no growth without community. And the community you build here is with the mentors who are teaching you about executive leadership and their experience through their life. You learn through the alumni network, which is tremendous and just like family. You learn about the connections you build in a new city that you're in. And you build community with this cohort that you'll be with. This cohort, to me, is family. And they've helped me get through a lot. Finally, you'll develop courageous leadership. I don't know why that person decided to steal a car that morning, but there's a good line from Victor Hugo that helps explain it a little bit. The guilty one is not he who sins, but the one who causes the darkness. That darkness to me is generational systemic oppression. And that oppression is persistent. And the only way to combat that persistence, that oppression, is through courageous leadership that is just as persistent. And I'm excited to develop that courageous leadership here with my cohort, the class of 2018, as a National Urban Fellow, and here in the great city of Cleveland. Thank you.
I'm going to take this opportunity to have some bragging rights right now. One thing I wanted to mention about this program is my daughter also is an alum. And some people in here know her. She's in Chicago. She works for the World Trade Chicago. I had to get it right. Yes. And her name is Eris Scales. But I want to tap onto that bragging right because I'm getting ready to introduce a phenomenal, phenomenal woman who just happened to be my niece. Angela Jones, would you please come up here? I'm going to let her do her own introduction in terms of her role, and I just wanted to say thank you all for coming, and this has been amazing. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Well, all right. My name is Angela Jones, and I'm a Senior Government Affairs Specialist for Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. But I'm here today to speak in my role as the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, Cleveland Chapter President. So we're going to truncate a National Forum of Black Public Administrators, and we're going to go with NFBPA. I'm going to be saying it quite often through my little spiel. As someone told me not to say to be brief, I will be brief. But NFBPA here in Cleveland has partnered with the NUF for the past several years on their recruiting event to encourage individuals to reach out and seek out their career in public administration. And we are so happy to be part of this event. By being part of this event, we as an organization have leaders that have served in the NUF role. Our very own Natoya Walker Minor, who is a former president of our local chapter, is one of the illustrious leaders that continues to assist us in forging a relationship with NFBPA and NUF. But the real reason why I'm here today, besides thanking everyone for being here, and yes, I want you to go to the website, nfbpa.org, and consider joining our organization to be a member. The National Forum of Black Public Administrators is a preeminent organization that cultivates leadership for Black leaders within cities, municipalities, basically anyone serving in the public field. But the exciting thing to this is that the NFBPA is bringing their national conference here to Cleveland, April 18th through the 22nd. Woo! And we are very proud to have the city as one of our biggest supporters for this event. I would like to recognize Terrell Cole in the back, who serves as one of the co-chairs for the conference, as well as Chief Operating Officer Darnell Brown sitting over there. And again, someone that you have heard all this afternoon or evening is Natoya Walker Minor. Us and others serve on the planning committee to pull off bringing this national conference here to Cleveland. And so as you go about this evening talking with individuals about, wow, that event may sound exciting, talk to Terrell, say something to Darnell, as well as Natoya, to see how you can get involved. Because we are looking for volunteers to assist the local chapter in pulling off this fabulous event. So from April 18th to the 22nd, this week will be filled with national speakers, exciting workshops, very, very intense networking throughout the week, and of course, a blended family of individuals, all focused on the single purpose of developing leadership within the public sector. Okay. Well, yes. And so that's my briefness to what is to come here in April. But in the back, I put on the table postcards about the conference. It has on there not only what the conference is entitled, Evolve, Lead, Inspire, Generations of Leaders. And that's essentially what this whole program has been about. NUF is looking to develop leaders, and so is the National Forum of Black Public Administrators. So thank you for giving me a few moments to speak. But again, grab this on your way out. It has the conference registration website on here. And please, if you're interested in participating and volunteering, come see one of us. Thank you.
I do want to acknowledge two organizations that have joined us this evening that we reached out to, the Hispanic Alliance and the Spanish American Committee. We are a community, one community, and with all the ills that we face, it is so important that we do the very best for those who have less than us. Thank you, good evening, and I want to wish everyone a safe trip home, but we still got a lot of food there, and there's still a lot of people here that I know take the time to meet one of our alums this evening and talk. Thank you.